Hello, and welcome to another lesson by Ms. Pedroza. We're going to be talking about the U.S. Customary System, and this is adapted from your Go Math lesson 10.1. Our learning target today is I can convert different sizes of measurement units in the U.S. Customary System. Our target practice is I can convert the lengths of inches, feet, and miles. So what does it mean to convert? Convert means to change something into a different form or so that it can be used in a different way. So we can convert coal into diamonds, and they are the same thing. The U.S. customary vocabulary. So we have a few vocabulary words. We have length, inches, feet, yard, and mile. So length is the measured distance from one end to the other. Inches is the smallest unit of length in the U.S. customary system. Now, when we talk about smallest unit, we're talking about a unit meaning one, basically. So when we're talking about what everything is kind of built upon, is built upon this smallest one. And then we have feet, a unit of length equal to 12 inches. Yard, a measure of length equal to 3 feet or 36 inches. And a mile, a unit of measurement equal to 5,280 feet. So this PowerPoint is going to be a little bit different than the PowerPoints that we've done in the past. I really want you to be taking notes in this PowerPoint, and these are the kinds of notes that we would be taking in class. We take a lot of notes on vocabulary, so go ahead and pull out your notebooks. We're going to be doing the Freire model, and you're going to be copying down what the model looks like and then filling in the boxes. Please refer to your notes for your homework. Okay. So we're going to be doing the Freire model on length. We have the definition. I've read the definition. I want you to draw a picture that could represent the definition. What does length kind of mean to you? When you think about length, what are you picturing in your mind? And then I want you to give an example of something that you could find the length of. And really, we can find a length of anything. The one that's going to be kind of harder is there something that you can't measure. That's kind of hard, right? Because, I don't know, you got to kind of be creative and see if there's something that you can't measure. All right, inches. In my head, when I think of inches, I think of a ruler. So you could draw a ruler if you want. You don't have to, but every time I think of inches, I think of this picture. I also think of my pinky. My pinky is about an inch. I measured it before, so sometimes I refer to my pinky when when I'm measuring something and I don't have a ruler. I want you to give an example of something you could find the length of that's 1 inch and 1 inch only. And then I want you to find an example of something you can't measure in an inch. That, maybe is too big. Okay. Feet. When I think of feet, again, I think of a standard ruler. And a standard ruler has 12 inches, which is a foot. I want you to give us something that is that long. And then I want you to give an example of something that is less than a foot. When we want to use that unit of length, usually want to use something that's bigger than something that you would measure with inches. So when we measure things with feet, the length would be longer. So I would measure my we measure people in feet. We don't measure people in inches typically. So but I would measure my fingers in inches, if that makes sense. So kind of be thinking about that when you go through this PowerPoint. All right, a yard. I think of yardstick, you know. I think I don't really measure in yards. I think the word is indicative to like measuring a yard, maybe like a front yard. I'm not quite sure. I don't know why people use yards, sticks, other than maybe it's kind of like similar to a meter stick. It's just, you know, a larger unit of length. And like 1 yard, guys, and then 1 foot and 1 inch is 1, right? The unit of 1. Excuse me. Give me an example of something that is a yard long. And then I want you to give me an example of something that is less than a yard, which is like anything, right? It could be something that's an inch, something that's 5 inches, 5 feet, sorry, not 5 feet, 2 feet, anything like that. Okay. A mile. We measure things in miles, especially when we're going, you know, far distances. Like if I'm going to my grandmother's house in Evanston, Wyoming, I wouldn't be measuring inches, feet, or yards. I'd be measuring that in miles. So that's really important. We, like, when I think of miles, I think of when I used to run track. So we, you know, here's the track. You have to run around it 4 times in order to do the mile. So I have a track field here. I have the 4x in there. That means 4 times. And so that's what I think of. Give an example of something that is a mile away from you. You can look on like Google Maps, or you can look at, I don't know. I think Google Maps is the only thing I can think of. But if you want, you can look in Google Maps. Find something that's a mile away from your home, and then you can write it down as an example. And then maybe a non-example, something that's less than a mile away from you. Okay, so the biggest thing about using a reference including this table, is that anytime you are going from a larger unit to a smaller unit, you need to multiply. So if we go from, let me pull, there we go. When we go from 2 yardsticks and we want to convert or change it to equal, you know, feet, we would have to multiply because there's more feet in those yardsticks. If there's 3 yardsticks in 3 feet in 1 yard, and there's 2 yardsticks, we know that's going to be 6 feet. It's going to equal 6 feet. And you know, when we multiply anything, our number is going to get larger. And so we went from 2 to 6. And so just be thinking about that when you start to convert within the U.S. Customary System. All right, and then when you convert smaller units to larger units, here's our smaller unit. We know that a foot is smaller than a yard. You need to divide, right? So we're going from 6 to 2. So our numbers are getting smaller, right? Our outcome is going to be smaller when we divide this by 3. And so, and I have these arrows here to help you know that when we go from a smaller unit, like a foot, and we go down to a larger unit, like a yard, mile, or, a yard or mile, we're going to be dividing. And then if we go up, so if we go from a mile to a foot, we're going to be multiplying because we're going to have more of that unit. Okay. So here is our problem. To build a new swing, Mr. Matson needs 9 feet of rope for each side of the swing and 6 more feet for the monkey bar. the hardware sells rope by the yard. Okay, a few important things to be thinking about. 9 feet, 6 more feet, and yard. Okay, so we know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard, right? We can write that down here. And if you want to follow along somehow, I don't know if you want to have this PowerPoint up in another window while you're watching the video, or you know, have it playing in the background. But yep, we know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard, and it's right here. 1, 2, 3 feet in 1 yard. And a way for us to figure out this problem is we can model it in a picture, and then we would record it into a equation. And so you will probably be doing the equation part. I don't expect you to be drawing pictures of lengths just because it kind of will take a little while, but if that helps you picture it, go ahead. So if this equals a yard, right, because I have a key right here, and then this equals a foot, you can see that there's 3 feet in 1 yard. And so if we have 24 feet, and then we know that there's 3 feet in a yard, all right, we know that there's going to be 8 total yards, okay, 8 total yards that he has to buy. So Mr. Madison needs to buy 8 yards right here. Okay, so if you want to watch this YouTube video, it's created by the same video I put like in every PowerPoint. And so if music really helps you, I know that when I was growing up, music really helped me kind of remember some of the things that you have to maybe memorize, like, you know, there's 12 inches in a foot, or 3 feet in a yard, or was it 5,280 feet in a mile? That's something that you could be looking up, you know, and, you know, kind of maybe reviewing for our test in a couple weeks. Okay, so this looks pretty complicated, but it's not. Here's another example. We're going to use the table to find relationships between miles and feet. The distance between the new high school and the football field is 2 miles. How does this compare? Okay, this is really important because you will be doing this. You'll be comparing. You'll be comparing things. You'll be comparing lengths in the same system. So we are learning the U.S. Customary System. That is basically the distance or length system that we use in the U.S. It's very unique to us. Everyone else uses the metric system, and so we compare across systems all the time. But this 5th grade standard, we're just going to be comparing within our own system. So we'll be comparing feet to miles, yards to miles, inches to feet, inches to miles, stuff like that. So the first step, we need to look at our table, and we can see that there's 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So, and then we're going to convert. We know that we have 2 miles. That's what, the problem gave us. That's the distance between a new high school and a football field. So we write down 2. We're writing down an equation. And then feet and mile, it's 5,280. Okay, I know that you guys can stack this and multiply this in standard form. I recommend you do that, but I'm not going to know if you use a calculator or anything. So 5,280 times 2. 10,560. And if you want to use a calculator to double check your work, I'm all for that. So yeah. So we have our answer is 10,560 feet. 2 miles equals 10,560 feet. And it's asking us to compare. And you would compare that, you just say that the distance between the new high school and the football field is more, right, greater, and it would look like this, greater than 10,000 feet. And I'll just put 10K right here. Okay. In this chapter, we're going to talk about mixed measures. And this will happen pretty frequently. And it's not really something that we need to define. It's just something that you need to know. I do have a really cool matching game that I have in our interactive websites and activities on Saturday. So once you feel comfortable, once you feel like, oh, okay, I understand everything, you can go on to that matching game. It's kind of hard because they time you. So you got to really understand how mixed measures kind of plays into that. So when you convert, there's a chance for you to have mixed measures. That means that when you divide or multiply, when you divide, you'll have a whole number, right? But anything that's left over is going to be what you divided it into. For example, if I were to divide, convert 62 inches into feet and inches, I know that 12 can go into 60, right, evenly, but I'm going to have those 2 inches left over. So it's going to be 5 feet and 2 inches, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. We're always like that leftover, the remainder, or anything you want to call it. It's going to be whatever you whatever was the divisor within the division problem. Okay, our second example. In our first example, we multiplied. In our second example, we're going to divide. So remember, when we know when we're multiplying is when we're going from miles to feet. We're going from the larger unit to the smaller unit. That's really important. Now we're going to be dividing, and you have to go from, you're going from a smaller unit, like inches, into a larger unit, like feet, and then, so we have to divide. So we're trying to convert inches into feet. So there's 62 inches. I know that I need to divide it into feet. So I know that step 1, there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So I know that I needed to divide 62 by 12. And then before, I think this is the same problem from before. So you know that this is the divisor and this is the dividend. So it's going to look like this. 12 is going to be on the outside of the box, and 62 is going to be in the inside of the box. So mental math, we know that 12 can go into 62 5 times, right here. You put the 5 over the 2. Subtract 60, you're going to have 2 left over. I think I said 5 inches before. That's not right. That's my bad. But we're going to have 5 feet and 2 inches. That's what the labels will look like. 5 feet and 2 inches. And you could put it right here. It has the spelled out versions. But yeah, please show your work. It's really important that you practice. I know that growing up you will have, calculators ready available. And I have a calculator on my Apple Watch right now. So, I don't know. But it really, doing your work on, you know, a piece of paper, showing your work helps you with number sense. Because in my head, I could have done this really in my head. And but we want to get to that point. You want to at least try to write it down so that you can picture it in your noggin. Okay. So, I'm going to move on. I want you to practice this. Please remember when you need to multiply, when you need to divide. Please identify the operation that you're using. It's really important. There's 3 problems here. I just want you to practice. Yeah. All right, we've gotten to the end. Go to Think Central, do 10.1 Customary System homework. I need to emphasize that you have to be doing all the activities, assignments, that's what I should be calling them, because it counts for your attendance. And you want to get as close to 5 days a week, like a school day or school week, as possible. It's really important. So, if you have any questions or concern, please let me know.